Like, how scary is that? You boot your system, you see that DDoS screen, you're gonna start freaking out. I'm not gonna lie. You might even crash out thinking that you broke something, but you didn't. It's just the way Bazzite loads up. You said you want an alternative to Windows, and you told me to try Bazzite. Well, I replied to every single one of those comments, and I told you I am not trying Bazzite. Today, we're putting Bazzite on the Xbox Ally X, and we're gonna see if the alternative to Windows is Bazzite. Nothing in the world screams modern console gaming more than having to go to a PC, either you or your friends, downloading an application called Rufus and watching it flash files like it's 2004 to get this thing to become a media creation tool, kind of like Windows media creation tool. So now that you got Bazzite on your thumbstick, you can inject it into your device where you just then you get the absolute privilege of having a dual boot system, which means you're gonna need to slide around the partition to tell Windows 500 gigabytes to you and 500 gigabytes open so I can install Bazzite. You just beautifully split your 1 terabyte, for most of you, 1 terabyte hard drive right down the middle, giving 500 to Windows, which might get you half a Call of Duty, and 500 to Bazzite, which might get you 5 or 6 games out of your complete and total library. But who needs a full-blown library of games when you have the digital hybrid device to rule them all with both Windows and Bazzite? Once you turn on your device, you're gonna see that it's gonna boot right into the BIOS. It's gonna make you create the primary boot sequence that you want to use. So you can boot into Windows or you can boot into Bazzite. I'm going to show you how I got my device to boot into Bazzite for the first time and why that was the scariest part of this whole installation. I understand the request to have a bare bones operating system. I understand that. However, it creates issues with the device itself. The device is not bare bones. You have a CPU, GPU, power. You have all these systems working together flawlessly to create the environment that you're seeing in front of you. The visual fidelity of the game, the home page, the big picture mode, Windows. Bazzite gives you no options to change any of those components. The CPU, GPU, RAM, VRAM, the power profile, the fan curve, the RGB lighting, none of that, which leads to bigger problems. Now you got to go into the Bazaar and download 5 to 6 different unoptimized third-party applications to run those things. There's so much crap you need to deal with. And these are unoptimized third-party application, meaning the reason you walked away from Windows, the bloat, you're virtually putting it right back on your machine, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. So you figured it all out. You got your apps downloaded. You got your stuff ready. You got 230 gigabytes left of space, RAM on your hard drive. Now it's time to download some games. Let's go download, I don't know, Crimson Desert. Well, guess what? SteamOS says it's not supported. They're working on support for it. Yes, you can install it, but hey, SteamOS says it's not supported. So let's install it and see what happens. So we installed Crimson Desert. Guess what happens? It freaking crashes every time I open the freaking game. This is where this upscaling technique actually affects the game. FSR was built it's an engine level upscaler, which works good with Windows because Windows developed around it. Works good for a lot of operating systems, just works better on Windows. Now, you have no FSR on SteamOS or Bazzite. It's upscaled at the driver level. So the operating system, kind of like Auto SR, is doing the upscaling, causing fake frames, causing you to believe that the game looks better than it actually looks. It's basically Windows Auto SR on Bazzite. Listen, being wrong about the operating system doesn't have to deflate your ego. You can just cry in the shower like most of us do so no one notices. But I'm ready to crawl back to Windows. And in order to do that, I'm going to need this video right here that gives me detailed instructions of how to use a cloud recovery tool the proper way so I don't get stuck in the BIOS loop. I'll catch you there.